Today on R&R on Sports, Larry and Howard dive deep into the NBA playoffs and the state of basketball. Then we have a riveting throwback interview with civil rights icon John Carlos. All of this and more on this week's episode of R&R on Sports. Now, here are your hosts, Larry Robinson and Howard Robertson.
Hello and welcome to R&R on Sports. I'm Howard Robertson.
And I am the great one, Larry Robinson.
I don't remember getting the memo. When did you get to be the great one?
Well, see, when you get to a certain point, like LeBron, you know, it's like greatest of all time. So they just shortened mine to just greatest.
Greatest.
Yeah, they didn't even have to do all time because they knew.
Who was they?
It's a group of people. It's a group of people.
You lie so smoothly.
It's a group of people, man.
So smoothly.
Listen, man. Listen.
What?
It's well-respected people in our community that have come to the understanding that Larry Robinson is a great one.
All right.
So
okay.
I don't even have to get the of all time.
I'm not arguing
I'm
with
just
that.
the great one.
I'm not going to ask you to provide any kind of validation or proof.
I got references.
I don't want you to continue to pave your road to hell. So
what's up with you, brother?
So what was
So we looking back at the week?
And I have a question for you.
What we got?
What was Dillon Brooks
smoking
thinking about?
What was he smoking?
How do you get so full of yourself on one win that you tell the greatest scorer of all times that to get your respect, he gonna have to drop 40, and that he's old? What? And that's the question. That's the question. I'm gonna shut up and let you answer that. Go ahead.
Are we
explain?
Are we talking about the guy
please.
that wears sunglasses at night?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't have
team
an
light skin boy.
The team light skin
from Canada.
He got all kind of street cred.
Canadian protocols obviously are different.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, I just say it like this, man. You know, they say the youth is wasted on the young, and his youthfulness seemed to show. And this, once again, I will say it again and again and again. This thing with the Memphis Grizzlies of disrespecting veterans and champions, and I don't understand where this
before
comes
you
from.
Become one.
Right, before you won a damn thing. You haven't won anything, and you sitting up talking. You talk smack about the Warriors. Now you're going to talk about the best player in the history of the game,
and then he
in
went
many
against
people's opinion.
He went against typical Memphis protocol because, as I have said before, Zach Randolph, gospel according to Zach, is we don't bluff. And whenever you allow your mouth to write a check that your game
can't cash,
or another part of your anatomy can't cash, then you're doing what? You bluffing.
You bluffing.
You talking stuff.
Right.
And
no,
that's
but see, what gets me is the
did.
whole thing. But no, it ain't.
And
it ain't just him. It's Ja. It's all. We run up the chimney. We want all the smoke. Shut up and win. And win. Just shut up and win.
So what's the prediction? They are by the time the die would have been cast one way or the other by the time people hear this show. But as of this taping, they're about to go into game, what is this? 5?
Yeah, game 5.
5.
What do I got?
Yeah.
I got the Grizzlies winning game 5.
In Memphis.
Okay. And going back to L.A. and taking a long trip home. You know, and then they can talk about them running up chimneys and everything else in the offseason.
I don't disagree.
You know,
I don't disagree.
I mean, I think they're going to actually win this evening when they play game 5.
Yeah.
I think they're going to ultimately get there. I think they're going to do that because I see the Lakers as being still weary because they're older. And then Anthony Davis just ain't playing worth a damn.
Hey, man.
I mean, he is looking terrible at games. I mean, it's like he has a switch, and it goes off and on. One game he's on, The next game he's off. Next game he's on. Next game he's off.
Okay.
I mean, he just need to go on and be in street clothes.
I got a couple of more questions for you, but we're going to get more into the NBA playoffs. And when we come back, and much more when we come back after
but
this.
But first we going to have a little laugh, man. So don't be tripping on the LMAO. They're going to get that first.
R&R on Sports.
R&R on Sports. R&R on Sports.
Human Speed with Kirk Whalum.
April Ryan, who, of course, you know as a journalist, author, White House correspondent for the Griot, amazing parent. What you may not have known is that April Ryan was and can always have to be, because you can't just be this in the past, and that is a jazz DJ.
That's right. I can throw that jazz voice on anytime.
Human Speed with Kirk Whalum.
This is Larry Robinson with R&R on Sports, and we're on location to interview former Ole Miss player Laramie Tunsil, recently drafted by the Miami Dolphins. Wait a minute. We're going to find this part. Okay, here it is. Front door, apartment 420.
I'm in love with Mary Jane. She's my main thing. When I put my gas mask on, she make my head bang. Who that?
Well, hey, I'm sorry. Mr. Tunsil is not in.
I'm Larry Robinson with R&R on Sports, and I can hear him singing. What are you talking about?
Dang, Laramie, how you going to tell me to tell somebody you ain't here when they hear you back there hollering like a hog collar?
Larry, come on in here, man. Quit tripping, girl. This is my Negro right here. What up, dog?
Hey, Laramie, just a few questions our listeners want answers to.
Yeah, dog, ask me whatever. Oh, this is my girl, Heifer.
It's Heather. H-E-A-T-H-E-R, Heather Lynch.
I said Heifer.
Heather.
Heifer.
First question, Laramie. You fell to 13th in the NFL draft, and it's estimated you lost about $10 million. How does that make you feel?
How'd you feel when you had that $10 million and lost it?
I never had $10 million, Laramie.
Me neither. But it's a dream come true. You know what I'm saying? I worked hard playing the game of football since I was little. Well, I really wasn't little, but young, always protecting. I be blocking for the QB and the running backs. And I didn't think anybody noticed the work I was putting in since they got all the credit. You know what I'm saying? But all that stuff is played, and now Laramie about to get paid.
Ooh, I know that's right, baby. You about to blow up. Ooh, show them the mask. Woohoo!
But are you still smoking? On that video of you, a Confederate flag is in plain view and on the wall over your head. Were you aware of that at the time?
Excuse me, do you have a problem with the state flag of Mississippi?
Aware of something over my head? Man, I wasn't even aware I had a head, because that thing blew my head off. But I don't smoke nothing now. I just eat my green vegetables.
Green vegetables?
Yeah, here, have some of this broccoli.
No broccoli for me, Laramie.
Ooh, can I have some broccoli? Broccoli.
Yeah, but first I need you to call Coach and tell him I still need money to pay my rent and Mama needs some more weave. Not that synthetic stuff. Order her about 6 yards of their best human hair. You feel me, Heifer?
It's Heather. H-E-A-T-H-E-R. I got you, baby.
R&R on Sports.
Pitcher, left-hander, Vita Blue. Welcome to R&R on Sports.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be on. Let's get it on, man. Let's talk to
That's
baseball.
right.
Talk to sports.
It's R&R on Sports.
R&R on Sports.
R&R on Sports. R&R on Sports.
Welcome back to R&R on Sports. So, is it true?
What? Is what true?
The guy that was, what's his name again? He was playing with the Packers.
You talking about Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, him.
What about him?
I heard he left.
Oh, he left, all right. He was out of there on the fastest thing smoking. But that's been a long
Going
trip
to the
coming.
New York Jets.
That's a long trip coming, man.
Oh
That's been a
yeah,
long
but it
trip
took
coming.
so long.
It took so long.
What was the number? What's he making?
I don't know. What is he making?
I don't know.
Something ridiculous. I'm sure he's going to do a renegotiation. All they went through to get him to the Jets, but I mean, you know, man, and that relationship when they picked up Love, I just think that it was a deal that was going to go south, and he was going to make sure it went south. And Aaron Rodgers is a kind of different kind of guy. You know, I mean, he's going on the silent retreats. He's doing in the other kind of retreats. I mean, he's a different kind of guy that has his own way of kind of.
Do you think their only problem is that quarterback?
Who, the Jets?
Jets.
Oh, absolutely, man. They loaded everywhere else. I mean, what was a shame is that they could not go. They didn't do more last year. But now they got a solid quality quarterback. Now, for me, I don't understand why the Jets didn't go hard after Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
Because that was their quarterback of now and the future. But for whatever reason, they decided to get a guy that's on the end of his career, give up a whole lot to get him, and with no guarantees that he's going to stay beyond next year.
I think their issues are deeper than just quarterback.
Really? What do you
However,
think? What's your thoughts?
I mean, you know, the Jets have been bad for so long. Mm-hmm. The Jets have been non-winners for so long.
Okay.
I think their issues are deeper than just the position. I think they got to learn how to win as a team.
Well, I mean, what they've done is they brought in a tremendous amount of free agents. Mm-hmm. They brought in, they had some good draft picks, excellent draft picks. And I disagree. I think they were just woefully short in the area of leadership. Okay. And when it comes to in a market like New York, where you're going to get so much press, you're going to get so many people coming at you, especially if you don't play well, to have a young guy in the midst of that, you got to have some major cojones.
Okay.
And I think Aaron Rodgers is the type of guy that could survive in that environment.
Okay.
Like I said, I do believe they're making a mistake because he's literally an injury away, and then from that point he's retiring. So now you basically gave up all this inventory to get this guy who's only here for a year and possibly two at the most. Mm-hmm. So once again, I just don't understand the move. I think that, like I said, Lamar Jackson would have been a far better choice to expend those resources on, and I think it would have given them a quarterback of now and a quarterback of the future. So you ask about, what is he being paid? I think it's in the neighborhood of somewhere like $58 million over 3, but I don't see him staying 3. I don't see him staying 3 years.
Yeah.
At this stage of his career, that would be like, I said Brett Favre when he went to Minnesota to think he's going to stay 3 years or someone of that nature. I just don't see it. And with him, I just don't see him hanging around that long.
So let's hop back into basketball in the playoffs.
Okay.
I watched the Miami Heat the other night.
Did you now?
And Jimmy Butler.
Man.
What?
If willing a team to victory was a person, Jimmy Butler literally, and I ain't talking about figuratively, literally put the whole team on his back, including Spoelstra and a couple bench players, set him up on his shoulders.
You see him? He was looking so bum-fuzzled and like Twilight Zone-ish.
Man, I'd have been Twilight Zone-ish, man. I mean,
oh my goodness.
Dude, I mean, Jimmy
look like you supposed to understand what's happening.
Man, ain't nobody understand what the hell was going on with Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler ain't played like that on the offensive end.
They were down by what, 15?
Yeah, they were down 13, 15 points, man. And I mean, Jimmy Butler, listen, America, the world, if you can pull up this game.
Watch it.
Watch it.
Watch the last half. Watch the second half.
Watch the second half.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about, you see one of the greatest performances in NBA playoff history. This cat literally picks the whole team up, puts him on his back, and said, just get out the way. I got it. I got it the rest of the way. I ain't passing the ball. None of that. I got this. And he did his thing, man.
He did his thing. He absolutely did it. There's some great playing going on.
Yes.
What do you think about Phoenix? What do you think about your boy Durant?
I think Durant's cool, but, man, what's got me is Devin Booker, man. Devin Booker is gotten to be able to play one-on-one. He can't be doubled right now. And with you not being able to double Devin Booker, brother, you got to catch and score 70 points in the game.
You got an issue.
You got an issue, man. He scored 47 the other night. He's going to drop you off.
Right.
He's going to – that Mississippi boy going to drop you off. Hey. And I ain't lying to you. You know, and that's what was surprising to me is that how much his game has flourished now that Durant's there.
Yeah.
But Durant
Kings
looks
are looking
good.
Kings are looking great too.
Yeah, Kings are looking great. Darren Fox, but they gotta learn how to win.
Yeah.
They gotta learn how to win. But my man, I gotta give it up to that little short assassin out there down in the ATL.
Oh yeah.
That brother Trey Young, man. Now, you talking about somebody will a team to victory?
Yeah.
They were down by like 13 points or so.
Came back.
And came back in Boston. One of the few times Boston Celtics, the whole crowd was quiet. Everybody quiet. You almost heard him kind of rub his arms talking about the ice tray. You heard that? You heard the reverberating off the desk?
That's big now. Everybody looking like a junkie. Everybody rubbing their arms. I'm going, don't shout.
Hey man, but Trey Young looks really, really good. I mean, as I said, De'Aaron Fox, Devin Booker. I mean, you got Domantas Sabonis that is looking really well. But we talking L.A. You got to be talking about Austin Reeves, baby.
Oh yeah.
You got to be talking about Austin Reeves because if it wasn't Austin Reeves and Jared Vanderbilt, if it wasn't for those two brothers, the Lakers might be looking at themselves being down 3-1.
Well, and LeBron under LeBron's tutelage, and whatnot.
You know
so
what's
you can't pass that by.
Now here before we get out this segment, but check this out. Isn't it interesting how the players that are playing with LeBron now look at it as an honor, and they don't want him to look bad. So they want to play their best ball because they don't want the GOAT to look bad. So when he's doing interviews, here's what they're doing.
And let me tell you how that was wonderfully manifested.
They doing the GOAT sounds when he's doing his interviews.
That was manifested in the first quarter of the game after Dillon's unfortunate mouth running off at the mouth.
Diarrhea of the mouth.
Diarrhea of the tongue. After that, because he was talking about you got to drop. What he didn't realize is, one, this ain't about you. This is not about an individual. This is about a team effort. And to your point, the Lakers took up that mantle. They took that very, very seriously, and they were up. They almost scored 40, and it was like 39 to 7 or 9 or something like that. Some single digit number. Embarrassing. So
we got a great
guest.
In
our own sports, we got a great guest. I don't know who it is, but it's a great guess.
But you need to stay right there.
You don't go nowhere now. You're going to mess around and miss something. All right? Back for more on our own sports after this.
Riffin' on jazz.
But she was a sheriff's deputy.
Where?
In Detroit.
In Detroit. Oh, my God. You can't be no punk for that.
And ended up playing a flute.
Riffin' on jazz on the Kazookian Network. Kazookian.
R&R on Sports.
R&R on Sports. R&R on
Today,
on R&R on Sports. This is a fabulous day for me, man.
Oh, man, I can't even imagine.
You too young.
I can't even, you know what? I was 1 year old.
I got socks.
I got
socks older than you, so you are too young.
You got socks. I hope you washed those socks. You've washed those socks in the last.
No. Just memories. Good things happen in them socks. Listen, we have an historic guest on R&R on Sports, 1968 Olympian, Dr. John Carlos.
Oh, man, it's an honor, a true honor to be on R&R Sports, as well as having an opportunity to just, rub shoulders with you guys and have some discussion and laugh. And I think anybody in the dumps in Memphis, they need to pick up their radio and tune you guys in.
There you go.
We hope they do. From
your lips to God's ears.
I'm telling you. How you been, man? Just tell us a little bit. We're gonna get back to 68, but tell us what's been happening lately. What you're doing now. Bring people kind of up to date in your life.
I'm retired from work. I go around, I lecture, national as well as international. I still work with kids where I can, when I can. And I think that the most beautiful thing for me in life right now, man, is that I have good health. My wife has fairly good health. My kids are healthy, and everybody's happy. And as I stated earlier, man, to me, that's better than money.
There you go.
Wow.
Do you get an opportunity to run anymore?
Actually, I'm going to be honest with you. I had a knee replacement.
Oh, did you?
Maybe 10 years, right. And they never really gave me the knee that I was supposed to have. So I'm basically a cripple relative to what I used to be in terms of where I walked or where I ran. So I got kind of lazy, you might say. It didn't work out for so
You might
long.
say.
Well, I'm saying this is as a result of this leg not doing what it's supposed to do.
Right.
So it turned into laziness. Man, when I went to start trying to do some workout, I had to go back to my God and ask God to be with me every day in the workout, brother, just to try and get me some kind of health back. So that's where I am as far as you talking about am I running. Yeah, I'm running every day in my heart and my mind.
This is R&R on Sports, and we're speaking with 1968 Olympian John Carlos.
So Dr. John Carlos is part of one of the most iconic photographs that you guys have all seen, and that is from the 1968 Mexico Olympics. On the winner's stand, the two brothers that are standing there with fists raised with black gloves were Dr. Carlos, John Carlos, and Tommy Smith. And
let's not leave out my brother.
And Peter Norman, right. Talk about what got you to the Olympics in 1968.
If I was to start talking about my life, I would have to talk about religion and God or whoever the ultimate person is in the universe.
We ain't got no problem with that. we know that. We understand that.
Right on. Well, I think that God had chosen me for a specific mission in life. And the reason I come to this conclusion is before I was born into the world, my mother had problems carrying me in her womb. She had to go back and forth to the hospital or the doctor or wherever it was to have them do a procedure and move me around in my mom's womb because I kept moving around. They did it twice. The third time, the doctor told my mother, said, Mrs. Carlos, it look like this baby has a mind of his own and we're going to have to leave it be. They would move me around because they thought if I was a weak baby, they was concerned about me breaking my limbs. The third time, he told her, leave him be. Well, when I came into the world, I came into the world feet first. So it gave me indication right there that God was telling the world, these feet going to be stepping. But then as I began to grow and look at life for what it is, like you see yourself as a little child, man, and you see the globe and you're looking at the world saying, what's my role in this world? What's significant for me in this world? I'm not a bad-looking guy. I think I was a fairly nice-looking kid.
Yeah, Howard don't know anything about that. He's been an ugly kid his whole life. So
well,
and now he's an ugly old man.
But All we can do in that sense is remember the story about the old ugly goose.
Don't respond to that foolishness, Brother John. Do not. Go ahead.
So anyway,
He's sorry that he interrupted you.
All right, no problem. So anyway, I began to look at the world in terms of what my role is. But then I started noticing differences. I noticed one day, I come out of my father's shop. My father was a shoemaker, a cobbler. He had his own business.
Mm-hmm. Now, you grew up in Harlem, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Are you still in Harlem?
No, I'm in Atlanta, Georgia right now.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, I'm looking across the street, and I see all the white folks leaving, packing up, man, and they getting out of Dodge. And I'm young. I must have been about 7, 8 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to my father, I said, Daddy, where they going? And Father Mo, why they going? My father said, son, I don't know where they're going, but I would surmise that they're leaving because they don't like the fact that domesticated workers now are their next door neighbors.
Mm.
Because we started moving into a house
Right.
and being their neighbors now. So they took off. But when they took off, I noticed at the same time we had little mom and pop grocery stores. You understand? And then there was a bootleg liquor called King Kong.
Mm-hmm.
King Kong was, if I was equated to something modern day, it would probably be like PCP, hallucinative. And these guys would drink this King Kong, man, and every weekend you had to look in the paper the next day to see who died that weekend because they would drink that stuff and go up to the roof and dive off like they could fly. And then one day, I went to sleep and I woke up. King Kong was gone, nowhere to be seen. But in his place came a thing called heron, or smack, or mud.
Mm-hmm.
And when it came in, it just devastated my community, and my community was all of Harlem. Devastated them. And when you sit back and you think about children in the last 50, 60 years that grew up with no father in the house, there was 2 reasons for that. And I caught it real early as a young boy. The first reason was when they dropped that heron, most fathers was depressed already because they couldn't be the man that God intended for them to be. Because I'm not the breadwinner in the house. My woman asked me, what kind of man are you? You can't bring no money home to feed the baby. The baby needs diapers and the whole 9 yards. And then they were looking for escapism. But where did escapism come from? If you remember seeing the movie Lady Sings the Blues, when Billie Holiday was on that bus and she looked out and saw the KKK and their hoods and so forth, burn the cross. And who gave her the little package? White guy came to her and said, here, Billy, try this. It'll help you get through the night. That same scenario happened to all those black fathers and some mothers as well. They thought the fathers was, man, I can escape from who I am, because they looked in the mirror after all the years of brushing their teeth and washing their face and doing the whole 9 yards. They never looked in the mirror until that day they looked up and saw themselves and realized they didn't like what they saw in the mirror. How you not going to like yourself? And now here's this drug for escapism. When they left, you go to your friend's house and look in his cabinets. He ain't got no food in the cabinets. He ain't got no clothes in the closet. And then I see a strange thing happen. I'm off at my boy's house, and I hear boom, boom, boom on the door. And the mother get up and go to the door, and this woman, white woman I might add, brushes right on by her. The mother says, good morning. She don't even speak to the mother. She just busts on in. She goes right away and looks in the ashtray. She goes and look under the sofa. She goes in the bedroom, look in the closet, look under the bed. And I'm trying to figure out, what is she doing? First of all, she disrespected the woman because she never spoke to her. And then it dawned on me that she's looking to see if there's any man in the house.
Right.
If our father's in the house or male figures in the house, that stops their substance.
Right.
So now, with that taking place and no food in the cabinets, and I just happened to go home and saw on my little fish tank TV, a guy that they call Robin Hood, white guy. But I was so impressed with him then, and I'm even more impressed as an adult today, that Robin Hood made me realize there was 2 gods. There was 2 laws of the land. God's white man's dollar here in America, and then God's law.
We're going to have to take a break right here, Dr. Carlos. But when we come back, we want you to talk about how you got into running, and then we're going to talk some about the 68 Olympics. We'll be back for more R&R on Sports after this.
R&R on Sports.
The great, legendary Ed Too Tall Jones.
Years ago, when the Division I schools started recruiting black athletes, they took care of you very well.
It's R&R on Sports.
Welcome back to R&R on Sports. We are having the privilege of speaking to 1968 Olympic bronze medalist John Carlos, Dr. John Carlos, in the 200-meter race. So, Dr. John, you were talking about life in Harlem, and so how did that for you translate into running everybody down on the track in the 100 and 200?
Saw this guy on TV, Robin Hood.
Mm-hmm.
And I was impressed with him because Robin Hood didn't have fear for man. He had a greater fear for God, that he had to do the right thing.
Mm-hmm. So
Robin Hood said to the sheriff of Nottingham and the king, if you come through Nottingham Forest, you're going to pay a tariff. So I got to thinking, when I looked in all my partners' house, and they didn't have no food in there, they didn't have no clothes in the closet, and then I'm looking at the freight trains right in front of the New York Yankee Stadium. Mm-hmm. And I'm saying, man, all this food and all this succotash and everything they had coming in, they got to pay a tariff.
Mm-hmm.
So I had two partners I used to roll with. So I told them, I said, man, we going to investigate these freight trains. And we went in and we began to take boxes. We were running across the 155th Street Bridge. And I remember we was going across the bridge one day and I saw the guy that sit in the booth, the one that he called to open the bridge up for the tugboat.
Right. Yeah.
I stopped and I said to him, I said, man, how much they pay you to do this job? And he looked at me, he smiled, he said, they don't pay me enough to sit in this booth all day with nothing but a phone and a newspaper. I said, well, you see us running through here kind of regular. I said, man, the police going to call you and ask you to open up this bridge. I said, if they call you, man, if you give us 5 minutes when I come through every time, I'll leave you something. And he looked at me, he told me, he said to me, he said, well, thank you for being concerned. He said, but I can't give you 5 minutes. And I was a young kid, and I turned away kind of dejected that he'd tell me right out, no, you can't do that. But then he came back and he said, but I can give you 3 minutes. And when he said that, I looked at him, I said, man, we on. So now when we used to take all these boxes from the trains, the New York police used to come, little Irish fat police, but they can run.
Right.
They would always run my boys down and have them hemmed up against the wall, but I would get away. And I would be in the crowd saying, what did they do? Why y'all bothering them? And my boys would turn around and say, Johnny got away again.
Gone. Yeah.
So what was happening, as I stated, my father was a shoemaker, and he used to have the poker game and rolling the dice and the whole 9 yards on the weekends. Some baseball players used to come, and it was 2 black detectives that used to come through there, Mr. Lester and Mr. Bryan. And they went to my father and they told him, said, Earl, there's been some breaks in the freight yards, and we think Johnny, and my father stopped him and said, no, that's your job. You need to talk to him. And he sent him over to McCoon's Park, which was right where they built the new Yankee Stadium. That's where the track was.
Right.
And I was actually over there to try and get some of them new Converse sneakers because my old man wouldn't buy me no sneakers. 20 years. So in any case, they came over and they got a hold of me and they told me, he says, Mr. Lester was about 5'11", 6 feet, and Mr. Brown was like 6'6". Mr. Brown looked at Mr. Lester, go on, tell him. So Mr. Lester looks at me and he says to me, he said, listen, there's some break-ins in the freight trains. We think we know who's doing it. We can't do anything to him until we catch him. And then he took his nose and brushed his nose up against mine, like in a shove motion, and said, and we gonna catch him. Slow your roll, indirectly. So, okay. Now, Mr. Bryan said, go on, Mr. Lester, tell him the other thing. And Mr. Lester said, well, you have a talent. And when he said, talent, I said, what talent? He said, you're a runner. And I kind of smirked like that. Mr. Bryan smacked me, man. He smacked me upside my head so hard I could start talking about it 80 years later. Damn near. He said to me, he said, you're a runner. And I said, everybody in the neighborhood runs. He said, no, you're special. He said, get on this track and run until we come back to stop you. Well, they went off somewhere and forgot about me. Man, I must have run around that track 50 times. So when they finally came back to me and said, here, they gave me a number, said, call this number. And the number they gave me was to the New York Pioneer Club.
Uh-huh.
And when I called down there, the guy told me, he said, yeah, well, come on down. Man, I didn't have sweats, nothing. All I had was my 7-Elevens, my knit shirt, and my Cardigan shoes. And I went down there, he said to me, he said, where's your gear? Like a young kid, dummy, what is gear? What are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Well, where's your running stuff? I said, man, what you see is what you get. This is what I have.
Right.
And it was out there running while he was talking to me, running some 660s. And I ran those 660s. They was running 4, and I ran them and beat them in 3 and passed out on the 4th.
Yeah, 660s wasn't no joke.
Right, that's right. So from there, then I got involved in running their program. And as I started out as a miler. And I didn't like the mile because I said, why am I running the mile to win the same thing the guy running to win the 100?
Mm-hmm.
And I could beat the guy winning the 100. But, when you start out running the mile, the coach or whoever, they can't comprehend you going to lead the mile and you're going to beat a 100-yard dash.
Mm-hmm.
But after my senior year, I told him, I said, Coach, if you don't let me run the 100, I'm not going to run for the 10. So he put me in, he tried to embarrass me. He put me in the quarter.
Mm-hmm.
I won the quarter. First, when I said to him, I said, Coach, if I don't run the 100, I'm going to quit the team. So he said, well, John, I'm going to put you in the quarter. He figured I'd get in the quarter, he'd whip my butt, and then he'd leave me alone.
Mm-hmm.
I won the quarter. Then the next one, they dropped me down from the quarter to the 300. I won that. So finally, when he put me in the run, 100 was at the Bishop Lockland track meet, big medal they give. I wanted that medal, man. I won the race, but they say I took second in the race. Second or third, I don't know which it was.
Mm-hmm.
My coach didn't go and argue the case. I told him, I said, Coach, I won the race. Not until the following year, I'm done with running for school now. The following year, they had the picture of the race on the program. You can see outright that I had won. But through all of that, my track career came as my social activism was being developed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And as I began to travel around the United States for track and field, and then God blessed me to get a chance to see what the world was like. As I said, I was pitching as a young kid. Now I can see where we are as a race of people relative to the world. And I felt that we were way behind. So that's what sparked my activism to the point where I started stepping up, because I noticed things where everybody's out there playing and they missing the boat on certain issues.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And then my thing says, if they can't help themselves, somebody has to help them. So I had a reputation as being, little crazy Johnny. He's crazy. He's this, he's that. And people used to say, man, why you do this to help these people? And then they sit back and talk about you. I said, man, they talk about me. That's their problem.
Right.
I said, my problem I'm dealing with. He said, well, what's your problem? I said, my problem is the fact they see people pissing on them and they don't know how to stop them.
Right. Right.
So somebody got to help them, and maybe the best way to help them is through show and tell.
You're listening to Dr. John Carlos on R&R on Sports. So I wanted to ask you.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I wanted to ask about this. So you've been running that social activism has increased and whatnot. Take us through the conversation, the planning, if you will, that you guys did, made, the plans that you made to do what you did on the Olympic Stadium in '68.
Well, as you might know through research or history, what have you, we had potentially tried and organized an Olympic boycott.
Right, right.
Because our philosophy was, if the black soldiers would have stepped back from the Civil War, would have stepped back from the First World War, the Second World War, the Korean War, would America be as great as they are today if we chose not to go fight?
Right.
No harm, no foul. I don't think America would have been as great today as they are hadn't we not gone to those wars. I don't think the Olympic Games would be as great an Olympic Games as it was had American black athletes chose to step back. But, through years, you begin to realize that when you put a program out for kids that say, hey, man, I know you've been training for this all your life. I know your people have been telling you all your life, go to the Olympics, go for the gold. It's the greatest sports spectacle of the world. And then here we come like knuckleheads and tell you, say, man, bite the bullet. We want you to pass up the Olympics. We want you to boycott with us.
Mm.
We didn't have any right to tell anyone that you must boycott.
Right.
So what we did, we went and made ourselves well-versed. We went to the library and studied everything. So when they came and asked questions, the media, we had the answers. When we wanted to try and get them to understand, we had to be able to talk to them and make them have an understanding as to why we anticipate them boycotting these games. But when the dust settled, man, it was very difficult for anyone to back away. Man, I hear excuses. Man, my church is counting on me. Man, my neighborhood, my kids, they looking for me. I can't, boy. Hey, man, I understand what you're saying. I might not like what you're saying, but I understand what you're saying. So I decided I wasn't going to go to the games. But the Creator projected this in my mind. He said, John, if you don't go to the games, someone from America is going to get in your spot. And when they go up on the victory stand, the question is whether they're going to represent you the way you feel you need to be represented up there. That one thing that went through my brain was the thing that turned my whole philosophy around in terms of saying, I'm going to go. Now, when I went, I blew the world record up. But then they wanted to play a political game with me based on my social beliefs, my activism. They decide we're going to take the world record away from me. He ain't going to get the world record.
Mm.
Like the world record.
Now, wait a minute. Wait. Hold on for a second, Dr. Carlos. You had the world record for the 200 meters?
For the 100. Was
for
it for the 100?
No, the 200. The
200.
For the 200.
Yes, sir.
Wow. So was this before the Olympics?
Yes, sir. At the Olympic trials.
At the trials.
The world record was 20.3.
Right.
I ran 19.70.
Wow.
Okay.
Now, when Smith ran it, when Smith set the record allegedly set the record in the Olympics, he was 19 8?
I think in 19.83 or something like that.
Okay.
But if you remember in that race, I was gone. If you look at the race, you see me pull back and turn around and tell him, if you want this medal, stop and come on.
Is that what you said to him?
That's exactly what I said to him.
Now, why was you wanting him to get the medal?
Because I wasn't there for the medal. I was there to make sure I got on the victory stand. I was there for the demonstration, brother. They ain't going to get me with the carrot.
The demonstration was your concept, your idea?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely.
See?
People always want to talk this and talk that. And when we first started talking, man, I used to always use the philosophy that we're in this together.
Mm-hmm.
We did this together. We thought of it together. But with Mr. Smith's annex, the way he conducted himself, I got to speak the truth now.
Mm-hmm.
And there ain't no shame in my game. If you look at the video of the race, you'll see me gone. I must be 6 meters in front of everybody coming off the turn.
Mm.
And then you see me pull back, and if you looked at the race, you'll see me striding down the track looking around for 80 meters. And when I got to the tape, and I looked at the tape, looked over, and I said, because I forgot about Peter Norman. Peter's best part of Peter's race was the last 20 meters. And I forgot about him until we got down to the finish, and I turned all the way from my left, all the way over to my right looking for him. And he was there. And we had less than 10 meters to run. I couldn't start sprinting again after I'm striding 80 yards.
Mm-hmm.
So, but when I looked up at the clock, I was more excited about Peter than myself or Tommy Smith. Because I ain't never seen no white guy run
like that.
Okay? And then I was even more excited about what I did because I know what I did in terms of pulling back in that race and striding, and I ran 20 flat.
Wow. So, and in the interest of time, we're gonna kind of move it along a little bit. So, you guys did what you did on the stand. Peter was up there. But he did not raise his fist. Peter is from Australia.
Well, let me lay something on you with that. Peter's from Australia. Who is the original people of Australia?
The Aboriginals.
The Aboriginals, right? So the Aboriginals are the blacks like in America.
Right.
So he knew the strife that they were going through there. But he knew that Tommy and I, we were going to make a statement relative to the issues of black people here in America, but he had a vision as to what we were going through because he knew what the Aboriginals were going through there. So when we started getting together in terms of how we was going to make the demonstration, what we going to do with the gloves, this, that, and the other, and Peter said, what are y'all doing? I said, Peter, we get ready to make a statement. Let me ask you a question. He said, what's that? I said, do you believe in human rights? And he laughed and he told me, he said, yes, my mom and dad were Salvation Army workers all my life. I said, well, would you like to wear an Olympic Project for Human Rights button? And I had my button pinned on my jacket. And he was reaching for mine. I had to smack his hand. Get that. And then I got a button from one of the white guys from Harvard, the Harvard rowing team that supported us.
Mm-hmm.
And they threw me a button down, and I pinned the button on Peter. So, in essence, you say he didn't put his fist up, but what he did by putting that medal on his jacket was even greater than him putting his fist up, for the simple reason that he's a white guy, blonde hair and blue eyes, but he stood for principle.
Absolutely.
He stood for equality, despite anything. If you sit back and you think about Australia, they were parallel to South Africa.
That's right. That's right.
That's right.
You know, you think about. No, let me go back with Peter before we go. I know we got short time, but think about here in America when they got mad at us. They got Tommy Smith. They got John Carlos.
Mm-hmm.
They decided they're gonna whip Tommy Smith. I get a break. They decided they're gonna whip my. He get a break.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But when they decided to whip Peter, who gave him a break in straight?
Mm-hmm. Talk about that. Talk about what he faced when he got back to Australia.
Well, when he got back to Australia, man, it wasn't no welcome wagon for him. The haters were out there. The job that he had as an educator, the job wasn't there, which all of us lost jobs. He lost his marriage. All of us lost our marriage. But they drove him to drink. They drove him to nervous breakdowns. We had the Olympics in Australia in 2000. They brought every Olympian out there to acknowledge to the Australian people but him.
Huh? Really? In 2000?
In the 2000 Olympics, absolutely. Remember, the 2000 Olympics was in Australia.
Yeah, in Australia. Yeah. Sydney.
So, I mean, but when you sit back and think about the character of the man, he never denounced what he did or what he stood for or who he supported. He never flinched. He never turned away. And he took what he had as a man with respect and pride for humanity straight to his grave.
Talk about what it did in your life.
Well, man, you know, I had the pain and suffering. But at the same time, I would do the pain and suffering all over again.
Would you?
You know, when I say pain, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Let me just say this, man. You know, you can kiss all your life, but the bottom line is you're going to die.
Mm-hmm.
I could be the man that I want to be in my life, and I'm going to still die.
Right.
So why wouldn't I die for something that I believe in terms of being honest with myself and trying to be honest with society, rather than being somebody licking boots and don't know who I am when I look in the mirror?
I hear you.
See, just like you said, I set an impression on you years ago. That was the intent. I told him 50 years ago, if you think that John Carlos is raising hell now doing something, give it 50 years. 50 years. Let's wait and see.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you sit back and think as a result of my actions as well as so many other black historians, these youngsters out here today have a far more understanding as to who they are through our actions. It wasn't through the history books.
Right.
Because they didn't have us in the history books.
Right. That's beautiful.
When you see that young girl that was at the World Games or the Pan Am Games, and she stood there with a USA blue uniform on and blue lipstick on, and the first thing she did was raise her fist to the sky.
Uh-huh. Okay? Wonder where that came from.
Yes, there you go. And then here's the most ironic thing. We waited 50 years before they would acknowledge us and put us into the United States Olympic Hall of Fame.
Wow.
Which was a great honor. 50 years.
50 years.
But then, right after the United States put us into the Hall of Fame for, say, all right, the punishment is off. You guys can come in. But what does the International Olympic Committee do 2-3 months later? They come up and they make a rule state that if anyone makes any type of demonstration, anything or armband or whatever, now you will be expelled from the game. So in other words, they tell you, say, man, you don't have no social consciousness. You don't have any moral character. You can't do nothing but bite the bullet. That sounds like some Hitler was telling. They trying to muzzle people and they can't do it. Someone is going to always break through the glass.
Dr. Carlos, is the last question. So with today, you have so many things happening where you have athletes that have stood up and really made a statement, namely Colin Kaepernick. When you saw him kneel for the first time and the backlash happened, what kind of thoughts went through your mind?
Well, first thing I said, I got to meet the guy. And when I met him, I told him, I said, man, I have the utmost respect for you. I said, but with this respect, let me tell you what type of tunnel that you're going to be going through. Okay? Because the exact same thing that they did in terms of trying to criticize us and put us down and make us look like we're the scum of the earth, 50 years later, they came back and they was trying to do the same thing to him. He didn't come in and put the finger up. He didn't come in with bullets across his chest. All he did was do something that was morally right to say, hey, man, something is broke in this country, and I'm bringing it to your attention, and you need to try and fix it.
Right.
Instead of them trying to fix it, they put the water hose on him. They put the dogs on him.
Mm-hmm.
They put the clubs on him, the same way they did us 50 years ago. But I'm here to tell you, 50 years later, man, I'm as strong as I was back in 1968, October 16th, in terms of my beliefs and my pride in being a black person and trying to push everybody else over the fence to make them realize that this is our land, too.
Beautiful, beautiful. On that note, that's no better way to end this interview. This has been, as I said, a personal pleasure for me to get to talk to you, and we appreciate even this young dude over here.
Now, don't try to bring me in it. I didn't even get to ask him any real questions because you just took up the whole time.
What?
Let me just say this before I go. Let me say this before I go, and I hope your listeners out there. Relative to people of color, blacks in particular, there in state of Tennessee, Memphis in particular, one of the greatest men to ever walk this earth, Dr. Martin Luther King, tragically was assassinated in that city. And you would think that if that happened and he was on the plight for black people, you would think that they would say, let me do everything I can in the state of Tennessee, specifically in Memphis, Tennessee, to raise black people up, to give them some pride in who they are, to help them fix their houses up. Man, I drove through Tennessee, man, it brought me to tears. I would have never imagined that Tennessee black people was living as bad as some people I've seen living in Louisiana. And Louisiana didn't have the assassination of one of God's soldiers as Memphis did. But you would think that the politicians around there would say, let's try and give a better face to Memphis, Tennessee.
Right.
But that's standard. And I'll tell you another thing. It is only standard because we have not come together as a race of people. And I'm talking about black people right now. The world ain't going to get right until we get right.
We want to invite you back, though.
Yeah, absolutely. You got a whole bunch to say, and we got to have you back.
So thank you.
I ain't running from the truth.
Thank you for being here with us on R&R, and we appreciate it. We will be back with more R&R on Sports after this.
Humans Being with Kirk Whalum.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my brother, Jonathan Butler.
What's up, Kirk? What's up, man? I like this. Humans Being.
Humans Being with Kirk Whalum.
R&R on Sports.
R&R on Sports. R&R on Sports.
All right. Back as we head toward the door.
See you.
And we got to say goodbye to not just you guys, the audience, but during this segment, we always like to say goodbye to those of us of note that have gone to the next level. And in doing that, I would like to begin just by saying, Deo.
Dale.
Me say day, me say day, me say day. Oh. Daylight come and me wanna go home. Sit. Almost sick. Anyway, the great Harry Belafonte
absolutely
has gone on at the young age, tender age of 96, I believe. And this was a phenomenal man. Did everything, and he did everything that he did very, very well. Singer, actor, producer, songwriter, activist, marched, made a difference. So hail and farewell to Sidney Poitier.
Team Light Skin. Brother Belafonte, we love you, we honor you, and totally, man, rest in power, my brother.
Yeah.
You know, it was really interesting as a young man seeing this civil rights icon, you know, with the NAACP.
Did you see him when he came to the National Civil Rights Museum?
No.
Freedom Award?
No, I didn't. I didn't, man. But man, you know, Harry Belafonte was one of those cats that, for me as a young person, with that much fire, and I'm seeing him dancing and singing in the movies, but then when he get behind that podium, it's a total different brother, man. Mm-hmm. And the way that he stood up for us as a people really stood out to me. And today I want to make sure we honor it.
Another thing he got to do was to push up on Dorothy Dandridge.
That too.
I so admire that. Dorothy Dandridge is one of them women you know, if I had to be locked up in a room with some old women.
Stop it, man. Stop it, man.
Dorothy Dandridge, Lena Horne, Tina Turner. I'll stop right there.
Hey, I don't know if you make it out.
I wouldn't try to. Who says that I want to? Just take me, Lord. I'm where I need to be. This is heaven for me on earth. We appreciate you being with us here on R&R on Sports. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. My name is Howard Robertson.
And I am the great one, Larry Robinson.
Y'all be good.
Peace.
R&R is hosted by Larry Robinson and Howard Robertson. R&R is directed, produced, recorded, and distributed by Kadzukian.